Am I the a-hole for not giving my father money from my inheritance to pay for treatment for his stepkid? A 19 male got an inheritance from my paternal grandparents 2 years ago. They left it in a trust for me that safeguarded it from everyone who might want to use it for their own purposes. This includes my father/their son. I got access to the money when I turned 19, a choice my grandparents made. I was the primary beneficiary, and they left my father the lowest amount they could that would also prevent him from contesting their will. I haven't lived with my father in 5 years. When he met his wife, he gave me two choices. Either agree to treat them all as family from day one and embrace her two kids, who were really young when they met, and accept she'll be the mom in the house, and it makes her my mom too, or I can get the F out of his house and stop sponging off him. I chose to live with my maternal grandparents. My mom died when I was 6 for those who'll ask. My parents weren't together and mom was my primary caregiver, but my father had visitation weekends with me before mom died, and then I lived with him. I think he blamed me for being born and resented my existence. He sure acted like that anyway. So I never interacted with his precious little family. I don't know his wife or her kids. I don't care about them and don't feel any sense of obligation to pretend they're my family, which is why I said no when he reached out to me a couple of months ago and asked me to give him money from my inheritance, $40K, to pay for treatment for one of his stepkids. He sent me a bunch of links about the condition and the treatment, which was, I think, in Switzerland or maybe Germany. He said the kid was getting worse and they were worried about it becoming fatal. Apparently, this is a condition the kid always had but gets worse and doesn't have many treatment options yet. But they have this one, which is something. Honestly, I thought I'd blocked him on my socials, so the DM was a surprise. I said no, and I blocked him and carried on. But then he texted me, and I wondered how he got my number since I changed mine after I moved in with my grandparents. But he had my paternal grandparents' phones, and he found my number on them. I told him to stop, and he wasn't getting the money. He sent me some more info via text, and even shared their fundraising with me, which wasn't getting much. He said they'd consider this other place for treatment if they could get some money for it. I blocked the number and blocked the other texts that came through. I guess after enough silence, he decided to bring others in, and he sent my uncle after me. My uncle wanted to know why I said no, and whether I'd considered using the money to make him pay for his treatment of me by making him legally obligated to pay me back with interest. I said no. I said I didn't want to help them, and I wasn't giving any of my money. My uncle said I could help a kid, maybe save their life, and that should be considered over who that kid belongs to. Then he dropped the whole step-sibling thing, and I told him to get lost. But I guess it made me think a bit. I don't feel guilty, just reflective, because I could give the $40K, and I'm choosing not to. Hell, I think one of his texts increased how much he wanted me to give, but I could afford it anyway, and I'm just saying no. Am I the a-hole?